In this video, we're going to be talking about the index laws. Everything we learn in this video has loads of real-world applications. Indices are used in computer game physics, engineering, economics, finance, and many more disciplines. For example, viruses such as the coronavirus can spread at an ever-increasing rate, and the explosion in the number of people infected can be modelled using indices. Whenever we multiply a number by itself, for example, 3 multiplied by 3 or 4 multiplied by 4, it is possible to rewrite that using index notation. For example, 3 multiplied by 3 can be written as 3 squared, and 4 multiplied by 4 can be written as 4 squared. But if we had, let's say, 3 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 3, we could write that as 3 to the power of 3, or 3 cubed. Therefore, if we have our notation as a to the power of n, the index, which is this one here, the n, which is also known as an exponent or a power, simply tells you how many times the base, this is our base here, how many times the base should be multiplied by itself. So 3 squared simply tells us that we need to multiply 3 by itself 2 times. And 3 cubed simply tells us that we need to multiply 3 by itself 3 times. The cool thing is, we can also raise letters to different powers too. For example, b multiplied by b multiplied by b would be equal to b raised to the power of 3. In other words, if we multiply b by itself 3 times, we get b raised to the power of 3. Now we understand what indices are, let's look at 4 basic index laws that are super helpful when solving algebraic expressions. The first law can be expressed as a raised to the power of n multiplied by a raised to the power of n, which equals a raised to the power of m plus n. In other words, suppose we have a squared and we multiply that by a raised to the power of 4. Okay? If we were to write this sum in full, we would get 2a's multiplied by 4a's, like such. This gives us a total of 6a's multiplied together, which is simply a to the power of 6, as we are multiplying a by itself 6 times. Okay? Clearly, we could have reached the same answer by simply adding together the indices 4 and 2 to make 6, which is why rule number 1 is a great trick. So this is equal to a to the power of 4 plus 2. We just simply add together these indices here. Also, remember that the base number or letter has to be the same to apply this rule. So if we had, let's say, a raised to some sort of power, and we want to multiply that by b raised to some sort of power, we can't actually use rule number 1 here because we need these two numbers to be the same. It would need to be a here and a there as well. Let's look at an example. What would we do if we were told to simplify x raised to the power of 5 multiplied by x raised to the power of 3? Okay. Now pause this video and give it a go yourself, and when you're ready, press play. Well, okay. Let's look at an example. What would we do if we were told to simplify x raised to the power of 5 multiplied by x to the power of 3? I'd recommend you pause this video now, and when you're ready, press play. Well, if we were going to apply our first rule, which is over here, we simply need to take our base, which is x, and then we need to add together our indices. That's 5 plus 3. And 5 plus 3 is equal to 8, so that gives us x raised to the power of 8, and that is our final answer. The second law can be expressed as a raised to the power of m divided by a raised to the power of n equals a raised to the power of m minus n. In other words, suppose we have a raised to the power of 5, and we want to divide that by a raised to the power of 2. We can express this sum as follows. So that would be the same as us going a raised to the power of 5 over a to the power of 2, which equals 5a's, a times a times a times a times a, divided by a times a. We can then divide out the common factor of a. In other words, we can simply divide the top and bottom by 2a's, like such. And this will give us a cubed, because we've got 3a's over here, over 1. And that is the same as saying a to the power of 3. Let's look at an example. What would we do if we were told to simplify 9x raised to the power of 7 divided by 3x raised to the power of 2? Pause this video and give it a go, and when you're ready, press play. The easiest way to handle this is to split it into two separate equations. Firstly, we want to divide 9 by 3, and then we want to divide x raised to the power of 7 over x squared. Now we know that 9 divided by 3 is equal to 3, because 3 times 3 is equal to 9. And if we apply the second law here, am divided by an equals a to the power of m minus n, we know that x to the power of 7 divided by x to the power of 2 is equal to x to the power of 7 minus 2, which is equal to x to the power of 5. And we can then bring these two together, our 3 and our x to the power of 5, to give us our final answer, which is 3x to the power of 5. And that is our final answer. The third law can be expressed as a raised to the power of m, with all of that raised to the power of n, equals a raised to the power of m multiplied by n. In other words, suppose we have a raised to the power of 2, or a squared, and all of that is raised to the power of 3. All that tells us is that a is multiplied by itself. A squared is multiplied by itself 3 times. So that equals a squared multiplied by a squared multiplied by a squared. And if we were to apply the first law, which is what we looked at the very beginning of this video, we know that we can simply add together the indices. So we got 2, 2 and 2. So this is equal to a to the power of 2 plus 2 plus 2. And we know that 2 plus 2 plus 2 is equal to 6. So this is equal to a to the power of 6. By using the third index law, we could have reached the same answer much quicker, as a raised to the power of 2 raised to the power of 3 is equal to a to the power of 2 times 3. And we know that 2 times 3 is 6, so that is also equal to a to the power of 6. Finally, the fourth law can be expressed as a b to the power of n equals a to the power of n multiplied by b to the power of n. In other words, we are applying the power n to everything inside the bracket. So let's say we had 3x. And we raised that to the power of 2. What do you think we would do? Well, we simply apply the power 2 to everything inside the bracket, which is the 3 and the x. And so that would give us 3 squared multiplied by x squared. And we know that 3 squared is equal to 9. 3 times 3 is equal to 9. So that therefore gives us 9x squared. And that is our final answer. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel and check out the notes on the index laws I've linked below. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you next time, where we will be talking about expanding brackets.